Hello, welcome back to the Toe Picks Happen podcast. I'm your host, Coach Ashley, and today we're talking about how journaling helps me shift my mindset. So if you listened to the last episode, I shared my 9 lessons that I learned last year, and most of them had to do with mindset. I had so many mindset shifts that I was forced to go through last year, and it really changed my perspective on so many things. And one of the reasons why that happened was because I was journaling like crazy. So I'm going to be sharing some of the reasons why I journal, how I started journaling, how it helps me, and then I'm also going to share some tips and some big picture vision prompts for you too. So I'm really excited to share what I have to talk about today about journaling with you. If you're new to journaling, totally okay. You're going to get a lot of information from this, and you can also kind of play along. You can journal along as I'm talking, and yeah, it's going to be a great episode. Before we jump on in, I just want to make sure that you are on my Stunning Spins list because I have something very exciting to share with you in the next couple weeks, but you'll only get it if you're on my Stunning Spins list. So make sure that you check out the link in my description box below, and you can go ahead and join my waitlist. You'll be the first one to know all about my new program that I'm offering. You'll get something special also for joining, and I can't wait to see you there. I'm really excited about what's to come, and I don't want you to miss out on it. I know it's going to help so many of you get better in your skating and specifically in your spins. You're going to love it. So make sure that you join my waitlist and check out the link in the description box below. Okay, so let's jump right into journaling. I think that so many people have a perception about journaling like it's something very serious and very introspective, and you have to like sit down in front of the fire with your ink and your quill and start writing out all of your deepest, darkest secrets and your emotions, or it's like writing in a diary or something, but it doesn't have to be that serious. And when I journal, usually it's bullet points. It's not even in full sentences because it's more like a record for me to keep track of things and to keep track of how I'm feeling and how the day went. So it doesn't have to be this very serious formatted thing. I do love getting a nice looking journal. So if you go to like your local paper store or some sort of craft store, like Michael's actually has a lot of good journals. I like to go there and find like something pretty that I want to write in, or something that is like leather bound with a closure on it, just because I like looking at it and it's going to help me actually use it. But I find that most days, like on a daily basis, when I'm just writing things down and keeping track of my thoughts, writing in bullet points, I just use a regular notebook from like Target. I have like a ruled notebook, and I just use that all the time. I carry it around with me. I have like everything in there. If you look inside my notebook, it probably looks like a crazy person wrote inside of it. It's so scribbly, but that's usually where I end up writing things. So you don't have to make journaling be this like very serious thing. And you can really do it however you want. There's no rules with this. This is just to help you. And you don't ever have to share it with anybody, which is why you can really make it your own. So I just want to put that out there first before we get into everything. Okay, so next, speaking of making it your own, so the reason why I started journaling, actually, I can take it back even further to when I was a kid, because I had like a Hello Kitty diary, and it had like a little lock on it, and I had the little key so I could unlock it and lock it, and I would write silly little things in there. This is when I was probably like in first or second grade, and I would just write things like, my brother, he bothered me today, and like I played with my dog today, and like I was in the living room with my dollies and played house, like it was like little stupid things like that in my diary, in my Hello Kitty diary back in the day. But I started to, obviously I didn't know I was journaling back then. It was just something I was writing down. I feel like all little girls get some sort of version of a diary or something when they're little. But anyway, as an adult, I started taking journaling a little bit more seriously because I used it for work. So journaling became like a tool that I was using to help me get better in my job and to help me keep track of things. So I recently, in preparation for this podcast episode, went through some of my old work journals and some of my old work notebooks and was looking at some of my manager meeting notes and some of the notes that I made when I would have team meetings and things like that. And it was really interesting to look back at how serious I really thought I was. And some of you know, some of you may not know, but I was a manager at Nordstrom for almost 10 years, and that was like my big adult job. So I felt like I really needed to take things seriously, and I, was keeping track of my numbers on like a daily, monthly, and annual, tracker. I had meetings all the time, and I had to make sure I was prepared when I would meet with my store manager, who at the time I thought was really scary. And I felt like I needed to be very serious, and I was one of the younger managers on the team with the least amount of experience. So I was just always taking in so much information that I would like write everything down. So I have all these notebooks and all these agenda books with like my schedules and my meetings, and everything's bullet pointed and all that stuff. And it's really interesting to look at. I just have so many of them. But what that time period did teach me is how important it is to kind of keep track of how you're feeling. And, at the time, I didn't think about it as like, this is going to be my thought tracker, or I'm taking bullet points on like how I felt after that meeting with my manager, or how I felt going into the meeting with my team. Like, I wasn't thinking of it like that. But now looking back on it, that is actually what I ended up doing. So I can go back and remember, I remember that manager meeting where it was very serious, and, our numbers were not good as a store, and we were trending down, and we had to come up with all these ideas on how we could bolster the store's numbers by department. And we each needed to say like what our goal was, how that goal was going to help the store, and like what our team was going to do to help us get there. And it was very strategic and actionable. So even though at that time I felt very tense going into it, I didn't know if what I had written was good or if it was going to work. And then I left that meeting feeling a little bit relieved, but also feeling the pressure. And I had made note of that in that journal entry or in those meeting notes. So one thing that did help me with was realizing like I can't remember everything that was discussed. I'm never going to be able to remember everything. So if I just take a minute after the meeting and just give myself a couple bullet points, I can go back and be like, this is what I said I was going to do. This is how what was received, or the notes that I was given based on what I said I was going to do. So I can refer back to it every day to make sure that the steps I'm taking at work are matching what I said I'm going to do and helping me get to those goals. So that's the one thing, even though that time period was very stressful and it was very serious, but it really helped me understand like how tangible it is to be able to look back at the things you said you were going to do, how those things can help you, and then making sure that you can kind of like check them off, or you're working towards them all the time. Now, as a figure skating coach, I still do my version of meeting notes in different ways. They're not as detailed and serious about numbers and everything, but I do make sure that I give myself little bullet points before and after my private lessons, and give myself a little note when I do group lessons so that I know the following week kind of what we worked on. Because I teach so many classes throughout the week and I work with so many skaters closely, it's a lot to keep track of. And I just want to make sure that I know, okay, this class on Wednesday we worked on this, or this class on Tuesday we worked on this, and just give myself an idea of what it was. So one of the things that I do with my private skaters, or it's just for me, it's not something that I really share with them, but it's for me. I'll put little bullet points of what I think we want to work on in their lesson, going into their lesson. And it usually is one or two things because the lesson evolves. And I don't have like a very strict lesson plan with myself because it's really about what the skater is feeling on that day. Like if I have a lesson with a skater who comes to me and they tell me that they're feeling a little dizzy, or well, first of all, if they're feeling dizzy, they probably shouldn't be at their lesson. But sometimes you just kind of come to your lesson and you're not feeling like spinning. And, you're not sick or anything, but you're just feeling like today, I don't think that it's going to be a good spin day. So if I had planned in my lesson notes, like, we're going to work on, scratch spins, back spins, and maybe a couple sit spins today, like different variations. Well, I would have to totally scrap that plan because my skater is telling me that they're not really feeling it. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to push them to do different things, because sometimes it's just about, oh, I don't feel like it, but by the end of the lesson, you're feeling okay to try it. So you just have to gauge that. So these notes are just kind of an idea. And then instead, just going back to that same example, if I had that skater in front of me and now the plan is scrapped, I can go back after their lesson and just make note of didn't feel like spinning today, so we worked on XYZ thing. So that I just know for next lesson, okay, we worked on those things, but maybe the next week we can work on the original plan about spins. So that just kind of helps me plan for my lessons that when I work with skaters closely, and gives me an idea of where they're at. This is especially helpful for me when I am working on programs with my skaters, because once I teach them their program, I pull it out of my head. I pull their choreo, I pull their whole program out of my head. I am not thinking about it anymore, because it's like giving birth. I just marinated on your plan for your program. We've been discussing your music. We talked about what you might want to wear and what the theme of your program would be. I've come up with the ideas. I've gone to public skating sessions to kind of work on the choreography and the plan for your program. I've written it down. I've then taught it to you. You've practiced it multiple times. We finished the program. We're both happy with it. I'm removing that information from my head. I'm literally pulling it out and making space for something else. So I don't want my skaters to then come to me 3 months later and be like, remember when we first did my program and you told me to put my arm here? I can't remember if that was right, or you wanted me to do this instead. Or was this jump before or after my dance step? Or was I supposed to do 2 spins or 1 spin? I'm going to look at them like a deer in headlights and say, I have no clue. But let me look at my notes and see if I wrote it down. That happens so often, and I do not remember their program. Or if they compete, my club, we take videos of everybody who's competing for our club, and we put them on our team YouTube page. So sometimes I literally will have to go back on YouTube and watch the video back, because I do not remember. Did I come up with this choreography with my skater in collaboration with them? 100%. Is this all original information that came directly from my head? 100%. Do I remember it after I teach it to them? No, I don't remember at all. So that helps a lot. So this has nothing to do with journaling. Side note, take videos of your programs. Okay, record yourself so that you can go back and look at it, instead of asking me a million times where something goes, and then I look at you with a deer in headlights and have no clue, and we have to come up with something different. So just side note, if you work with me privately and you're listening to this, start recording, okay? And ask me in your lessons to record you while you're doing your program, so that we can both remember. That would be so helpful. Now, let's talk about 3 different questions that you can ask yourself while you're journaling. If you're new to journaling, this will help you a lot, just get you started. And if you already journal, maybe you can add this, or you already have some version of it that you do for yourself. If you do, I would love to hear what kind of prompts that you give yourself. So make sure you drop those in the comments, because I'm interested to know. But otherwise, as I go through these, I'm going to also drop them in the description box so that you can follow along as I go. And then you can also refer back to them later. So the first one seems very simple and it seems obvious, but so many people don't do this, as I'm finding out. But it's something that comes very instinctively to me, because I do not remember anything. So you need to start with today's date. You need to, wherever you write on your piece of paper or in your notes app on your phone, whatever you're doing, whether it's a Word doc on your computer, you need to put the date for this entry and give it a title. That's so important, because as you go back and you look at these things, you're going to be able to say okay, yep, I remember that, not because of the date so much, but because of the title. So an example for this would be, maybe you had an amazing day. So today was just great. You're going to put Monday, and then whatever the date is, super amazing, awesome day. And that's your title for your entry. Or maybe you had an absolutely miserable day and it was cold, it was rainy, it was just the worst. So you're going to put like Friday, whatever the date is, and then you're going to say really horrible, awful day, like whatever it may be. For me, when I'm making notes for my lessons, I put the skater's name, the date, the day of their lesson. Or if I have like a bunch of lessons in one day, I'll just put that like as the header, whatever the day is. So it'll be like Sunday, and then I'll put the skater's name, and then like their lesson. So skater name, lesson, and then that's the title. So it's up to you, but this helps me be able to go back and recall what happened, and then just having the date there is just so you can keep track of your entries. So the next thing that you're going to do is ask yourself this simple question. And now I'm going to give you 3 different variations of it. Okay, so the first variation is, what happened today? The next one is, what did I do today? And then the last one is, how did today go? So those are all versions of the same type of question. So you can decide which version of that speaks more to you than others do. Or maybe you have a version that you like to use yourself. It's up to you. But those variations help me be able to go into my journaling mindset and say, okay, I'm going to bullet point what happened today and what I did. The next thing that you're going to ask yourself if you're new to journaling is, did I do things today that will help me reach my goals? And then another variation of that would be, what I did today helped me reach X goal because fill in the blank, or because why. And then you put the reason why that goal helped you. So an example of that would look like, what I did today helped me reach my goal of passing Freestyle 5 because I spent a lot of time working on my backwards, inside, and outside 3 turns, checking my shoulders. I spent a lot of time finding my edges, which helped me with my twizzles, which you need in your dance step. And that helped me nail my spins and jumps in Freestyle 5 as well. So that just gives you a prompt so that you can look back on it. That sentence alone might be your journal entry for that day. Maybe you're just sitting down to recall what your practice session looked like. So it doesn't have to be this like in-depth, really long entry. It doesn't have to be multiple paragraphs, multiple sentences, whatever. It could just be bullet points. It could just be one sentence. Maybe another version of that is like, maybe one of your goals that you're trying to reach outside of the rink, it could be inside the rink too, but a goal that you have is to make connections with new people. Maybe you want to broaden your friend group. Maybe you want to just meet new people. So your goal would be, I want to meet 3 new people every month, right? So it doesn't mean that those 3 people will become your best friends. It doesn't even mean that you have to have this be lifelong friendships and connections. It could just mean that you're trying to take yourself out of your goal or out of your your typical state of mind, and you want to meet new people and push yourself to do that. So your big goal of trying to make new connections is what you're trying to reach. So then if you were using this prompt, you would say, what I did today helped me reach my goal of meeting 3 new people every month because I went to lunch by myself and I started up a conversation with somebody who was sitting near me, and we made a connection, and then we followed each other on Instagram. Like, it doesn't have to be something that's totally crazy and wild. It could just be like a small little interaction, a small little moment, and you might never see that person again, but you put yourself out there, you made a new connection, and so you met one person this month that helped you reach your goal of meeting 3 new people every month. So once you do that one time, it's easier to do it the second and third time, and then it's definitely easier to stay more consistent with it in the next month. Maybe that, interaction helps you change your goal, and instead of just meeting 3 new random people every month, it becomes, I want to meet one person and have like a meaningful conversation with them every month. One new person where I can make a meaningful connection. That's a pretty big goal, and for some of you out there I know who struggle with anxieties around meeting new people or putting yourself out there or doing things by yourself, a simple goal like that will help really push you out of your comfort zone, and it helps you grow. So just something to consider as well. For this next part about journaling, we're going to go really big. We're going to go wild and crazy with our thoughts, and these journal prompts are meant to push you out of your comfort zone. So the first part we just talked about was how to kind of recap your day, think about how the things you're doing on a daily basis or a weekly basis are helping you reach your goals and making you be a little bit more introspective about how things are going. So this next part, these questions are meant to do all those things, but we're thinking about them on a bigger scale. So we're going big picture, and we're talking more about like life planning prompts. So maybe you're the type of person listening to this who's like me. I like to plan 2 years out, 1 year out for sure. But like I'm thinking about the whole year for 2025 in January. Actually started thinking about it in December. But I think about the whole year and what I want my year to look like more than I think about like month to month. Okay? Maybe you're the type of person who thinks about what your 2-year plan is, or what your 5-year plan will be, or what you want even in 10 years. That type of big picture planning and life planning is really important if you're the type of person who wants to think big and you have big goals and big dreams. So these next prompts will help you if you think like me, and you think in terms of big picture planning. They're going to help you sit down and really think about what you want. So the first question that you're going to ask yourself and you're going to write about, whether it's bullet points, paragraphs, few sentences, whatever that may be, you're going to ask yourself, if I could have anything I wanted and money was no issue, what would I be doing? I think that we all have a version of that question that we already ask ourselves, especially when we are having a crappy day, or, you know, maybe we have a big bill that came across our email we have to pay, or an unexpected emergency or something. Like if something happens with your car, it's unexpected, and you have a big bill you have to pay because you need your car for like life. We think about something like that. But maybe we can think about this type of question when we're having a good day and there's nothing wrong and there's no bills due and there's no emergency. Maybe we can take time to think about these types of things just because we want to. Like, isn't that a shocking idea? But I think that it would definitely be helpful for you if you start thinking big picture that way. So for this question and the following questions, you're going to set a timer. I like to do for this first question like a short amount of time because you're not overthinking this, and I like to bullet point. This is a question I ask myself every like 2 to 3 months because I like to plan big picture. So I'm not asking myself this every day. It's something that I ask myself when I need to sit down and plan. Set a timer for like 2 to 3 minutes and see how many ideas you can bullet point based on that question. Okay, the next one, similar to the first question, you're thinking big here. What is a crazy, totally wild dream you wish you could accomplish? Now, I'm saying crazy, totally wild and dream here, okay? Because I want you to think really big. I want you to sit down for no more than 10 minutes. It could be less. Maybe you already have an idea. And really think about this. Put on some music, whatever motivates you or makes you feel calm, peaceful, whatever, you know, you're into. For me, I have a playlist that I go to, and it's like a bunch of like really hypey, manifesty kind of songs. And I put that on and I sit down and I think about what I want to do for the next 3 months, 6 months, year, whatever. And this dream should be so big, or maybe of multiple, where if you told somebody face to face about this dream, they would look at you like you were crazy. That's how big you need to go with this, okay? This is going to help you so much. So then the last thing that you're going to ask yourself for this life planning prompt is, if you could have anything in the world, and this has to be something that will only benefit you personally, what would it be and why? So again, I'm just going to repeat that one again because it's important. We need to be introspective here. If you could have anything in the world that only benefits you personally, what would it be and why? So this one, again, don't overthink it. It has to be something that's kind of like in the forefront of your mind that you, again, be nervous to share with people because you'd be worried that they were going to judge you or think you're crazy, or they may even tell you, like, be super negative and be like, you're never going to be able to do that, right? That's what this prompt is about. Again, you are journaling for you. You're not journaling for anybody else. You don't have to share anything you write down with anybody unless you want to. So you have to be as big and as bold as you want to be and you can imagine for yourself. And then ask yourself why and write about that. So you can bullet point this, you can write it in sentences, you can write yourself a letter. Maybe you want to write a letter to your future self, whatever that looks like to answer this question. Now, why does it have to be something that only benefits you? There are a couple reasons. The first reason is because when you're thinking big picture and you're thinking for your life planning, like 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out, you have to be able to think to yourself, whatever is on the forefront of your mind, you deserve it. It's not about how you're going to get it, and it's not about when it's going to happen. You're thinking it, so that means it's yours. That means that you deserve it. That means that you can go for it, and you should do it. Now, the how you're going to get there, you don't need to worry about that right now. Trying to make that a factor, okay? It's going to be hard, I know, but you can do it. You deserve to get everything that you want. So that's one reason why this big thing that you want has to only benefit you. The next reason is because you have to be honest with yourself about why you want this thing and what it is in the first place. If you're going to reach any type of crazy big goal, it has to be because you want it enough. It's going to be really hard to get. It's got to be a goal that seems so unattainable to you right now that it actually scares you and makes you feel like you might be crazy. But you're not crazy because you thought of it. And it's what you want because you deserve it. And you can be honest with yourself about that. If you're not honest with yourself, then who are you going to be honest with? If you can't sit down in this journal and write this crazy big dream that you really want, that you're called to go for, who are you going to talk to about it? If you can't even write it down for yourself. So you have to be honest with yourself. The next reason why it has to only benefit you is because I think this is a point that a lot of times people misunderstand when I talk about like doing things for you. When you put yourself first, you're putting yourself on a path to actually reach your crazy big goal. And everybody who you touch, so everybody who's in your life, whether they're like close to you, like maybe your parents or maybe your siblings, maybe your best friend, everybody who's around you is affected by the person that you become on your path to reach your crazy big goal and the journey that you're on, pretty much. Everybody who is close to you will be affected. So even though this goal is meant to only benefit you personally, it will affect everybody else around you as well. So you have to think very big. The next thing and the final reason why it has to benefit only you is because your path crosses with everybody, whether you know them now or not. Like, you don't know who you're going to meet in the future, right? So helping yourself is also helping other people. Because if you don't go for this crazy big goal that you're really called to pursue, you don't know how that's going to affect people that you've never even met yet. The people who are also on a similar path to a crazy big goal who might coincide with you, and then your lives intersect and grow and get better because you met each other. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. So if you don't go for this crazy big goal that's you're being called to, that your future self is telling you already, like, hey, you're thinking about doing this and I don't know when it's going to happen, but you need to do it. There's a version of you out there already who is affecting people that you've never met yet in a very positive way. And if you don't go for it, their lives won't be as good as your life, or vice versa. You have to be always thinking further out. You don't know what could happen in the future. You don't know what your life will look like and who you'll meet and why. So going for this big goal that you have in your mind that you want to chase will help you grow. You will see a drastic difference in how you feel and also how other people interact with you. So I think that it's really important when we think about journaling to also think about goal setting, because they go hand in hand. But I also think that we need to be able to think really big. We need to open up our mind to so many different possibilities instead of just trying to go like day to day, and we get caught in the weeds and we overthink, and we start thinking like, I'm never going to reach this big goal in a year or 2 years. Like, you don't know the timeline. So why would you put that type of pressure on yourself to reach a goal in a certain year? You know, I think too, like there's a misunderstanding, like as we start to goal set, to be like, okay, I want my year to look like this. That doesn't mean it's going to happen in a year. You could make plans for yourself that you think will happen December 2025 that will actually happen in June. Like, you don't know when it's going to happen. So you put it out there and you go for it. Your life might change sooner than you think. But if you don't put it out there and you don't try to make it happen and set yourself up for that type of success, then it's definitely not going to happen. So give yourself the best chance to pursue this stuff by writing it down, by thinking about it, and giving yourself that crazy big wild dream, and then working towards it. So I hope that these journaling prompts helped you. I hope that you found some of the information that I've given you, and I've given you a lot of information today to process and work through. I hope that you resonated with it. Please let me know in the comments, and make sure that you check me out in the link, or check out the links in my description, so that you can get on my wait list and get into a lot of future things that I have going on. Make sure that you go ahead and look at the description box, especially for these prompts, because I'm going to have them listed down there as well. And again, let me know if this stuff helped you. You can DM me on Instagram at AKCstyle. You can comment down here below at YouTube as well. And I really want to thank you guys for listening. This is probably one of my most favorite episodes so far, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for listening today. If you found this episode helpful, let me know in the comments, and be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. This helps other figure skaters discover my channel, and also helps me decide what topics I should share with you next. Have fun out there, and I'll see you at the rink.